Hi, so I have been sitting in my study today working on a presentation that deals with finding more in our lives and our businesses, and really connected to that, looking at strategies for how we can find that extra to give to others around us. Now, in connection with that, there are three key questions that I have been drilling down on this afternoon, and I really wanted to share these with you because this is really the starting point before you can start to implement any strategy to find more in your life. You need to really be clear on the answer to these three questions. So, the first question is this: would you consider yourself to be a minimalist or a maximalist? Now, I'm not talking about these concepts in the traditional sense, the true sense in design or art, your preferences in that regard, but really your mental attitude. Do you believe less is more or more is more? This leads me on to the second question, which is: would you consider yourself to be a consumer or a contributor? Of course, all of us are consumers. We're living in a very consumer driven society, and in this day and age, it would be impossible to not be a consumer. We consume products, we consume social media, we consume Netflix. It's really, we are just bombarded all day with consumer products and messaging. So of course all of us are consumers, but when you're looking to amplify and find more fulfillment and enjoyment in our lives, really that comes with being a contributor. Now, what I mean by a contributor is being somebody who is contributing to society as a whole, to the greater good. And that may or may not be for any form of reward or income. We are taught in our society, of course, being a consumer driven society, that our work should be on a bargain basis. So, in other words, I do X in return for Y. But when it comes to true contribution in the world, that is not a consumer transaction. Your contribution is and capable of being given regardless of any expectation. So, connected to the idea of having a minimalist or maximalist mindset, these ideas really are one and the same thing. Because as a consumer, yes, minimalism is definitely, for me anyway, the way to go. Less really is more. We can be happier with less. And in fact, in today's world and in the certain environmental changes we face, really by lightening our footprint, we really can make a big difference. But when we think about ourselves as a contributor, we really want to start to foster a maximalist mindset. So, how can you shift your thinking to more is more? Now, I promise I'm not the most insane person of 2018 telling you that in today's time you need to do more and give more of your time and energy, but really what I'm referring to, it's a mental attitude, it's a feeling, it's wanting to contribute more of your gifts, of your skills and passions for the greater good of others in whatever context that may be. So these questions really are related. And then this leads me to the third question, which is: if resources were no issue, and assuming you've taken your round the world trip and you've done your travel, which seems to be the universal desire people have if dreaming about suddenly coming into loads of money, what would you wake up and do after that? What is it that, would you still go to your job? Would you still do the work that you do in the world at the moment? Or how would that change? And the answer to that question can be very clarifying for many of us, because we so often think that our contribution to the world is the work that we do. But when we start to understand that, in fact, a lot of the time our current careers or job or work that we do in the world is merely just in aid of the consumer society, and start to recognize the fact that there's actually space for us to contribute over and above that, it's a very empowering and exciting idea. So before you can even start to think about creating more of anything in your life, you need to be really honest and answer this very important question. I'd love to hear from you and hear some of your answers. You can pop them in the comments or send me a mail, and I'd love to connect.